I remember you burst on the GP scene, you made your Suzuki debut, and from that day on you're pretty unbelievable. Can you just talk me through what that lead up to your GP debut was? You had a lot of hype, but clearly you're quite good with living up to the hype, and you're unbelievable in your debut.
Yeah, so I've been with Suzuki obviously from a really early age, and I started racing European Championship before I went into the GP class, and I always switched to a bigger bike fairly early, and yeah, I think 2009 I had to skip the first 4 or 5 GP races just because I was still underage. I was 14 at that point, you had to be 15, so once my first GP was, I believe, in Portugal, and yeah, from there on I started kind of, that was actually the first time leading into the GPs that I've actually put in work and like was grinding a little bit more and doing cardio and stuff like that. So I made a huge step from before that till then, and I was able to get my first ever GP win at the age of 15 in 53 days. And yeah, from there on I had a really great career, I mean, as a whole, of course, and then later on once I moved to the US, I mean, I was able to fight for a championship in 2010 and then get the world championship in 2011, and that's when I started racing part-time in the US and was full-time in America in 2012. So I've basically, since then, I've hardly been back. Like my life and everything, my career's been over there. I was able to get in some championships in there with the West Coast 250 Championship in 13, and then back that out with a 2014 450 Pro Motocross Championship, and then in 2016 I did a 450 Pro Motocross Championship as well. And then I was kind of plagued with a bit of injuries, you know, and just kind of like trying to get back to top form. And I feel like at this point I made some drastic changes. I was with Honda for about 6 years and switched back to Suzuki, which obviously I have a lot of experience with. And yeah, we're kind of like, I would say a little bit back up on the rise. You know, I had a really tough year in 2022, and this year has been going really well so far. And yeah, so I think I'm back to rebuilding a little bit and kind of like finding my stride.
When you were young, I feel like the goal was always to go to America. When you look back now, seeing what you achieved when you're 15, I mean, you and Jeffrey Hurlings when you were 15 years old, in my opinion, probably the fastest ever 15-year-olds the world's ever seen. Are you happy when you look back now you were able to do that at such a young age?
Yeah, like I said, I think every once in a while you just have these couple of guys that just shine a little bit brighter than everybody else. So I was lucky to be a part of that, and I did a lot of racing internationally, and I did some British Championship as well, and was able to just bounce around Europe a lot. And yeah, I've had a really good career in the GPs as well. But my time in the GPs was really short, honestly. You know, it all happened so quick. I mean, I was a kid when I started, and felt like I was going to be there for a while, but then obviously the opportunity was rising that I could come to the U.S. and it all happened so quick, right? So then my GP time was over, and I've been in the U.S. ever since. So yeah, like I said, at a young age, it was amazing to be part of that kind of like elite group, and especially, you know, when you come in at that age and it's your rookie year, and you know, it's not like I looked up to some of those guys, but everybody knew who the top guys in the 250 class was. There were a lot of them, right? And I always watched them from afar, and all of a sudden I was part of it, and then I was killing it right away too. So it was a big confidence booster, and you know, I have to say big time thanks to my dad, because the way he raised me, like being tough, and I had some great guidance, you know, and obviously I was with one of the best teams back in the day with Suzuki, Factory Suzuki, and yeah, so I just, a lot of work, a lot of sweat and tears were put in, and with the right guidance, and I was able to kind of like, you know, reach the levels that I'm at the moment.
And your rookie Supercross season with KTM, you actually, something that's unheard of now because of the calendar, but you actually raced the Supercross season, then came back and rode Valkenswaard, and then went to America again to do a Supercross. Obviously they can't do that now because of the calendar, but at the time, what was that like? You know, it's unheard of now, but when you think back, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, in Supercross I felt a little bit like a fish out of water, man, and that's what I wanted to do, but I had zero experience going into Supercross. So I missed. So there were 3 rounds left on the calendar, technically 4, but I missed Seattle due to a GP. So I went third in Anaheim too, and we had a long break, so I went back to Europe and I raced Bulgaria on a bunch of races. Skipped Seattle, came back in Salt Lake, which was the second to last round. I got second there, and then finished it off in Vegas with a first place. So yeah, I mean that was my first year. I was always fast in Supercross, but it kind of was disastrous, and I had to do a lot of learning, and came back from that and just started clicking off some podiums towards the end there. So that was huge for me, and then of course coming back and winning a lot of races and motos, led a lot of laps in GP, and topping it off with a world championship was kind of like a highlight.
And then going to America, how did you find moving it? Probably doing that Supercross season before the GPs probably made the transition a bit easier, would you say? And now you're pretty much American now.
Yeah, back then it all was new, right? Like it's a totally different style of racing. The bikes are different. Also, I switched from Suzuki to KTM, and I've never really ridden those kind of Supercross tracks. So there was a lot of adjustment that had to be done, and things like that take time. Time that you don't have sometimes.
Yeah, it's two parts to this question. Obviously, you're racing Supercross at the moment. I would love to see a Suzuki and MXGP again. Would you rule out maybe doing a wild card in the future? And just on the GPs. Simon Lackenfelder, a young German. Do you watch the GPs much? Follow him?
Yeah, I actually watch all the GPs. It would be nice, but it takes a lot of planning and a lot of everything to really make that happen. And of course, I also still have the Pro Motocross Championship, but that's something I'm going to have to kind of play by ear a little bit. I think this year is just not feasible, just because obviously we have a long break now, but we have bikes going to all these different continents and countries for our own championship here, and if I wanted to do a couple more pro motocross races, and I wanted to do a Supercross only thing, so I want to make sure that it somewhat stays like that as well, at least just for this year, because I want to get a taste of that, and then for the future, everything's possible, but nothing's sure.
Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Just on this World Supercross, Ken, your fitness is really good this year. Does that give you a lot more confidence moving forward compared to the previous years and what you can do going into 2024?
I mean, in the years past, I just had my fitness was never the question, but when you struggle with a virus, it's just we need our bodies for our sport. We have one of the most brutal sports that there is, and then if you can't rely on your body at all, that's just not good, right? So right now I'm in a pretty good spot, and I can just kind of enjoy racing, honestly.
And how do you handle that mentally? Because against Webb and all, you had the speed, obviously, to win that title, but it was out of your control almost. Now it looks like you've got your control back of what you can do on a bike.
I mean, that's what I mean. That's the tough part. Like when it's out of your control and you wake up every day feeling crappy, it's not ideal. So then that's when it takes the fun out of everything too, because when you just suffer from morning till night, and it doesn't even have to do with any of the training. Like overall, you just don't have the energy to like really do anything fun. So it's tough.
And finally, we're here for round one of the World Supercross Series. You must be pretty excited. They seemed to reinvigorate your career last year starting this, and now you're coming around with the number one plate and everything.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, it all based off of the rebuild that I did this year and feeling good and having fun. So for right now, this is kind of just another race, just because we don't have back-to-back races, right? So we have a long break. So I'm excited to get it going.